Hey everyone, this is Praveen from Work Life with Praveen. I know I've been out for a couple of months. It's just that something had kept me occupied. But here I am with the third chapter of our series, which is Leadership 101 Masterclass. And in today's chapter or in today's video, I'll be speaking about the role of communication, the role of your communication skills, how to get better at it to become a better leader. So we'll quickly get started. But just before we get started, if you haven't subscribed to my channel yet, please do so, which basically would be a testament to the kind of work that I put behind the scenes in uploading these videos on YouTube. And yeah, it will motivate me further to keep coming up with great topics and help you in becoming a better leader, or basically just be your partner or be your coach or be your friend in becoming a leader in whatever phase of your career you are in. So we'll quickly get started. In this video, we'll be speaking about the communication skills of a good leader, and how to get better at any communication skill over a period of time. I mean, it's not going to happen immediately. It requires a lot of practice. It requires a lot of patience. So we'll speak about it in a bit, but we'll quickly get started. So the first thing, so we have four pillars when it comes to the communication skills. And the first pillar and the most important pillar to get better in making your communication skill better is listening. Or in other words, probably you would have heard same thing but in two different words, which is active listening. Now, what do we mean by listening skills, or what do we mean by active listening? Often in our one-on-one conversations, or let's say in our conversations in general, um, we try to listen to the other person to basically respond, or basically to answer, or basically to give a solution to whatever that problem that person is speaking about. Now, that is a good thing, and based on the situation, I think it is okay. But it is important for us as leaders to have a good active listening skill, because most of the times, not all the times, but most of the times, our employees or our partners or our stakeholders who report to us based on the hierarchy, let's say they come to us just to tell us what they feel. It could be to do with their career, it could be to do with their personal lives, it could be to do with what's happening with them on a daily basis. And what we do as managers in general, because would have worked for, let's say, 10, 15, 20 years, or even 5 years for the new leaders, we would have worked enough to know what this person is going to say right after a particular sentence. And we tend to say that, okay, you know what, I think I know what you're talking about, and here's the solution for it. I think I know where you're heading, and here's a step by step approach to basically sort this thing out for yourself. Now, yes, that is needed and that is expected by a leader. But a step before that is the most important part, which is listen. And you might have heard it multiple times, which is, again, when you speak to a person, listen and not just hear. What's the difference between hearing and listening? When you hear a person, you're just hearing what they have to say and you're not processing it at a deeper level. Now, that is hearing. Example, let's say if someone just walked up to me and that they say that, hey, you know what, I'm going to go there and I'm going to buy this, I'm going to travel to this particular place. And if I'm least bothered about that particular conversation, and not to sound rude, I might nod my head. I might say, okay, good for you. go ahead and have fun. But when it comes to listening, I try to actively engage myself in that conversation. Now, same example, but let's say if I'm really listening to this person, I'll be genuinely interested to hear or listen what this person has to say. Example, a person walks to me and he says, you know what, I'm traveling to this particular place over the weekend. The family has decided to do this, and this. We'll be having this cuisine in this particular restaurant. And what do you think? Now, immediately, if you're listening actively to this person, you are basically imagining him doing all those things. And in some cases, you are imagining yourself in his position. You're imagining you with your family in that particular place, and you're trying to experience what this person is probably going to experience in your future. And what you tend to do is you probably might say things like, oh, that sounds exciting. Okay, is it a cold place or a warm place? Is it a beach or a mountain? Or what kind of cuisine are you talking about when you say you're going to try this particular cuisine? I mean, have you tried it before? Have you liked it before? What do you think? Your family is going to like about in that particular cuisine. Who in your family likes, let's say, this particular place? Have you been there before? And what are your expectations? What is the budget? How much did you spend on your flight tickets? How much did you spend on your hotel tickets? Now, while you're asking all these questions to this person realizes, oh my god, this person actively heard what I had to say. In fact, he has a lot of questions, or he has questions that I probably had not even thought about. I probably had not thought about, okay, what exactly I'm going to be trying in this particular cuisine, or what would I be doing on day two of my trip, or what is the kind of hotel or a hotel room that I would be expecting once I go to a particular hotel where I have booked my or reserved my stay. Now, that is when the communication starts at a deeper level. Now, that person says, "Hey, you know what? This is the exact thing that I'm going to be trying in this particular cuisine." You will try imagining yourself having that particular dish. Now, based on what you will be able to imagine, you would have a follow up question to it. Okay, does it taste similar to something else? Is it something that you can try at your home in your city? Let's say you're not traveling. You try to imagine, okay, can I get this particular dish in, let's say, in the area that I live in? Can I take my family out to a particular restaurant which offers this kind of cuisine? Or probably, okay, let's say this is sounding tasty. Can I take my family to this particular place for my next vacation? Now, that will continue the conversation furthermore. Now, at the end of it, you have passed on this signal to the other person saying, okay, you were genuinely interested to listen to what this person has to say. In fact, you partnered with him to plan his vacation for him and his family. In fact, you were so happy that this person is going to this particular vacation, that you probably are planning your next vacation to the same place based on what he has to say once he's back from his vacation. So I hope you get the idea behind the difference between hearing and listening. Hearing, on one hand, probably might not encourage you to respond to whatever this person has to say. Sometimes you just have to hear to some individuals. Let's say if you have a colleague who just wants to vent out his frustration uh, because of someone in the organization, or probably someone within the team, or probably the project that he was working on did not yield the results that he was expecting. He doesn't want you to respond. It's just that he wants someone to listen to him or hear him and basically just be with him. But most of the times, I would say 70 or 80% of the times, if you really want to build that connection with your colleagues, your friends, your relatives, your family members, your pets, you genuinely have to listen so that you can have that conversation at a deeper level. So that's basically what active listening is, which is the first pillar when it comes to the communication skills of any human being. But in this case, because we are speaking about becoming a better leader, the first pillar becomes very important because that is tied, or that works as a base for all your other conversations that you will have with this particular person. Now, the second pillar for being a better being better in your communication skill as a leader is around assertive communication. Now, what I mean by assertive communication, two different words. Probably all of us know the difference between, or basically, we all know the meaning of assertiveness and communication. But to break it down, um, sometimes as individuals or sometimes as human beings, probably we are not assertive enough. What I mean by that is, let's say if your spouse comes to you and she says that, okay, you know what, he or she says that, you know what, I bought this dress, or I bought this cloth, I'm going to put it on myself, let me know how you feel, or let me know how I look in this particular dress. Now, if you really care about this person, and in this case, because we are speaking about the spouse, you really care about this person, and let's say if this dress of hers is not fitting in really well, or let's say if the color doesn't go well, the color of the cloth doesn't go well with, let's say, her hair color. In that case, you don't have to be rude, but you have to be assertive enough to say what you feel, so that you're genuinely caring about her, and basically telling her the truth. Now, it doesn't have to sound rude. There's a fine line between sounding rude and telling the truth. Now, you don't have to sound rude to tell the truth all the time, right? Or in fact, never. You don't have to sound rude to tell the truth. I mean, you can say the truth, or you can basically say whatever you feel in the most genuine way, just by being a little assertive in what you're saying, but make sure that you're telling the truth. Now, let's say my wife comes to me and she says, hey, you know what, I bought this cloth, how do you feel, or what do you feel, or what do you think? And you look at her and you say, okay, you know what, the hair color and the cloth color doesn't probably match, and let's say if she's planning to wear this cloth, probably she has to change her hair color, or let's say she might have to buy an accompanying suit so that it can go well. And that is something that you genuinely feel. You may be wrong, but that is something that you genuinely feel. And if that is what you feel, probably you will have to let her know, and you probably can just say that, hey, you know what, I think this dress is really good. However, I think if you put on this particular colored suit over it, it will add to the charm of this dress. Now, you have said what you feel. It's just that you said it in the most compassionate way, and you've been assertive about it, because here you have not given her the opportunity to think that probably you're not sure. Let's say in whatever example that I just said, and my response to it, instead of that response, let's say if I would have said, I'm not sure, probably, okay, let's see how it is, and things like it, she might be sure that you're not sure of this particular cloth, and she probably might not appreciate it because she spent a lot of money buying this dress, and you don't have any decisive response to it. And being a spouse, probably she expects you to be decisive in telling her the truth. So be assertive in whatever you say. That doesn't mean that you have to sound rude or you have to be rude. You can be assertive, and at the same time you can speak the truth. Is maybe sometimes you just have to take some time for yourself to say, okay, you know what, I'm not really sure about what I think about this dress. Give me some time, let me think over it, and I'll get back to you. Even that will work, especially when it comes to being a leader or managing a team or managing an organization or managing a family. It's absolutely okay to take your time, but just don't be rude or just don't sound confused. Or even if you sound confused, just say that, okay, for now, probably you're not sure, but probably in a couple of hours, once I have more facts, I will come back to you and I'll tell you what I feel. Now let me give you another example, in the space of our careers, or in the space of being a leader, right? Now let's say a team member of yours comes to you and says, hey, you know what, I'm planning to this is my idea, this is the idea that I've been getting, or I've been thinking about for last couple of weeks, and I think this will be a great project if we go ahead and start working on this particular idea. Now, you have seen that something similar had come to you about a year ago, and for some reason, the senior leaders did not go ahead and approve it, probably because of the monetary commitment. Maybe the budget didn't allow them to do it, or probably that's not the vision, or that's not the path the organization would like to take. So let's say you have heard something similar in past. It's just that are you don't want to sound rude to this person, saying, hey, you know what, your idea has been already been worked upon by someone else in the recent past. So what you do is, as a leader or as a manager, what you do is you say, okay, I mean, it is a good idea, but I think I kind of understand what you're saying, because something similar had come my way in the past, but I don't know what the status is on that particular idea. Can you give me a couple of days? Can you give me a day's time? Let me just see what happened to that particular idea, or basically if the times have changed and if the organization is more open to implement this idea. Now, what you have done is you've been assertive, saying, okay, you think the idea is great. At the same time, you have told this person that um, something similar had come our way in past, and you have given him or her the hints of saying that, okay, the idea is great, but it might not be worked upon, because that is not where the organization wants to go, at least in near future. Now, you've been realistic, you've been very compassionate in telling that person whatever the fact is, and you've been assertive as a whole, right? Now, after a day's time, you go back to this person. Let's say you did your research and you think that, okay, um the organization is more open towards something of this sort now, after a year, right? Now, because you had set that expectation with this individual a day ago, it will be easier for you to just go back to that person and say, hey, you know what, uh, I mean, both of us have spoken about it. Something similar had come my way in the past, and it was not implemented. But I think now is the right time for us to pursue with this idea. And I'm glad you came up with this idea. Let's go ahead and start thinking of coming up with the project plan, and then we'll take the next steps, right? Now, let's say for some reason the organization still is not sure about this particular idea, and this is what you understood based on your research in last one day. And now you have to go back to this person and say that, okay, you know what, your idea is good, but probably we'll have to shelf it, because again, still, even now, the organization doesn't want to head in that path, right? Now, you go back to this person and say that, hey, your idea was fantastic. We had spoken about it yesterday. It's just that, as I had told you the other day, or as I had told you yesterday, the organization still doesn't want to go to that path, because it is time consuming. Probably it's going to require a lot of budget, or probably that's not where we as organization want to head. Now, you are giving him a decisive answer in both the responses. If it was a yes, you have told that person that, okay, go ahead with this particular idea. If now, and now you're saying, in case of no, you're telling that person that we cannot go ahead and continue with this idea for ABC reasons. In all these conversations, in all this communication, you've been open, you've been transparent, you've been compassionate, and it all falls under the piece, or under the umbrella called assertive communication, because you've been very clear right from the beginning of what that person should expect after basically speaking about the idea. Now, the third bit, which comes under the communication skills for leaders, or in fact for all the individuals as human beings, is the conflict resolution. How can you use communication to resolve conflict within your team, within your family, within your group, within your, let's say, country, state, whatever, right? You get the idea. Now, one key piece for resolving a conflict is always, always, always make sure that there is a space for open communication both the ways, all the time. And as a leader, it is your obligation, it is your responsibility to make sure that you are constantly being open to have that communication. You're constantly being open to have that dialogue with whoever that is in your organization, to come to you and basically be able to speak about anything. Now, once the team member sees that openness, though there could be a lot of, and it will happen where, let's say, someone in your team might not agree with you, probably your peer might not agree with you, probably there would be a lot of situations where your manager might not agree with you, and that's a part and parcel of the whole game of in our careers. And if that happens, the first thing that comes to your rescue is communication. In fact, it is one of those things which can sometimes avoid conflicts among a smaller group or among two individuals if you're just being communicative enough. Because I've seen, I mean, me personally, I've caused a lot of conflicts in my career by just not being communicative enough, or just by not being open to communication. Let me give you a very specific example from my own experience. Right now, there was a situation where I was working on a particular project. The project was great. It was sponsored by our senior leadership. Everything was going great. I had a partner, or I had a peer in another location working with me on this particular project. And she wanted to help me as much as she could to make sure that I'm successful in doing whatever I was going to do with this particular project. Now, when that happened, it was a very human for me to think that, okay, it is, this project is my baby, this project is my idea. Probably this person wants to get into this project, and I don't want to involve this person in my project anymore because I think I got it all covered. Now, by doing this, I've stopped letting this person know the exact situation I was in. I was not able to tell this person the challenges probably I'm facing. I was not share my experiences with some of the tests that we did with this particular project. And all this happened over a period of I would say 7 or 8 weeks. Now, when this all happened, I had blocked myself from a two-way conversation. Though there were a lot of questions, there were a lot of support from the other person, I was not responding to it. I was not replying to those messages in the way I should have. And what happened because of this was, fast forward a quarter later, when the senior leadership asked me for an update, I was struggling because I did not seek anyone's help. I had blocked myself from active communication. I was just trying to figure it out myself, and all of it worked against me. Right? It was a hard learning, yes. I mean, if I look back, I can only blame myself for not being open enough to communicate, for thinking all about the thinking about the project all by myself, which should not be the case, especially in case of let's say if you're working with the team, or especially if you're working with your partners or whatever. But I did all those mistakes, and that resulted me where the project was almost going to be unsuccessful one, because I was over the time that was given to me by the senior leadership. Fortunately, I got the support that I should have, or I could have requested for from the senior leadership. Fortunately, the other person was still humble, or was still empathetic enough to help me out with this particular project. And both of us started working, both of us started being communicative. I mean, she was, I was not. So I started replying or being more responsive. And I think all that kind of removed that conflict that I had with this person or with this group. And I think fast forward 2 quarters later, we were able to achieve what I thought this project could have achieved. All of it could have been fast forwarded. All of it could have met the time limit or the time that we had allotted for this project. Had I been more open to the dialogue, had I been more open to the communication, and which basically resulted in the conflict that I had with the other person, and so on and so forth, right? So, the third pillar, communication plays a very important role when it comes to when it comes to solving a conflict and resolve a conflict basically, and that is the key part of the communication as well. Now, the last part or the last pillar of a better communication skill, or basically be getting better when it comes to the communication skill, is your non-verbal communication. Now, I know the word kind of explains it, but we'll dig into it deeper. What I mean by that is, as a leader, there are a lot of people that observe you. They try to replicate what you're trying to do. And a lot of things that you don't actually say mean a lot to your team members. The way you walk into, let's say, your office, the way you say hello to some individuals, the way you work on some of the projects that you are involved in, the way you speak about the organization or your leaders or your peers, all of it is contagious, and your team will do what they see. You can be communicative, you can talk a lot of good things about the organization, you can talk a lot of good things about your health, and how active you are during the day. You can speak about no matter what you want to, in a best positive way. But if your body doesn't speak the same language, let's say you speak a lot about eating healthy, you speak a lot about working out, you speak a lot about meditating. But let's say if your son or daughter, or let's say your sibling, who is a lot younger to you, if they see that you are someone who is eating unhealthy most of the times, or if they see that, okay, you spoke about working out but you're not doing it yourself, now that's a non-verbal communication which they closely observe. And your children or your sibling or your team will try to replicate it, because for some people, probably whatever you do, again, I'm using the word probably very carefully here, because it's not true all the time, but most of the times this is true. Your team, your children will try to replicate what you do, because they think this is the path to success. I'll give you an example, another example, right? Let's say you're a leader, you're a manager who often speaks negative about their peers, right? Let's say you criticize a lot about your peers, and you do it openly within your team. You do openly, let's say in the pantry area, you do openly in, let's say, the lunch table or whatever that is, right? Now, your team notices that. Now, though you're not criticizing them, though you're not speaking to them about this particular person, but your team has noticed it. And the moment they notice it, I'm sorry, the moment they notice it, they feel, hey, you know what, if my manager can do it, I can too. And that is where they try to replicate it. They would start um, talking negative about their own peers, who is your own team member. And they think, okay, I mean, for me, let's say if I want to get ahead, probably this is one of the ways where I can put another person down, or probably put my peer under the bus in front of my manager, and probably that will push me up the ladder in your future. So unknowingly, you have created a toxic environment, you have created a negative environment for your team, and that is contagious. Um, it will spread, and it will spread in a way where, let's say, even if you are getting someone who is very new, let's say a new hire in your team, within 3 to 4 months, if that person is not cautious enough, that person will learn the same thing, and the chain continues, right? And in no time, I mean, you will see that you're in middle of a team which has a very toxic, very negative work environment. So that's another nonverbal communication that I was speaking about. So with this, I've covered all the four important pillars of communication when it comes to leadership, or when it comes to being a better person or a better human being. So the first pillar again was your active listening. The second pillar is how can you be an assertive communicator. The third pillar is how you can use communication to resolve any conflict within your team or within your organization. And the fourth and the last pillar was non-verbal communication. So with this, we've covered all the four pillars when it comes to the communication skills, and with this, I think we are at the end of it. Again, if you have not subscribed to my channel yet, please do so. It will inspire me, it will motivate me to continue doing this, continue to spread whatever I've learned in last 17, 18 years of my corporate experience. And I promise I will continue to upload new chapters every week, so that at the end of 12th, 13th week, we have covered the A to Z of becoming a better person or becoming a better leader. With that, thanks for watching, and have a great day.